as the nation celebrates its independence this 4th of July, the system designed to take care of those who fought to keep the nation free is under scrutiny amid reports of how one investigator put it, significant and chronic system failures. Well, as we speak, Senate confirmation hearings are beginning on a new leader for the nation's Veterans Affairs. And while the national spotlight demands focus, where do Kentucky's veterans fit into this big picture? We're going to find out today on Kentucky Outlook the story of one area group's efforts to centralize services for area veterans and how congressional constituent services are helping to make a difference. Kentucky Veterans today on Kentucky Outlook. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Kentucky Outlook. I'm Barbara Deeb. You know, nationally, Veterans Affairs are taking a bit of a beating amid reports of less than standard services for our nation's aging veteran population and not enough being done for the veterans who are just returning home. Well, regionally, it appears that a very different picture is emerging as area services are coming together in honor of our veterans. We're going to talk a little bit about that as we welcome three people in the know to the program. Welcome with me, if you will, Colonel Bill Lytle. And you are a retired colonel, and you are also working with an area organization. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Great. Glad to have you here. And Babette Franklin joins us. Babette is the Constituent Services Director with U.S. Senator Rand Paul's office. Thank you for being with us. In addition, Kent Johnson joins us. He's been on the program before. He's a veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps. He served time in Iraq and is now serving with the WKU Military Student Services, which focuses on education opportunities for our veterans. And so there you have it. Three people, very different walks, and yet you all come together in one name, and that name is Veterans Services. So before we got started, we were talking about how one defines a veteran. You might be watching this program and say, well, I'm a veteran. Well, is so-and-so? So there is a working definition, right?
Well, what we like to look at is that if you participated, if you were in the service, if you are in the service, you are a veteran. Too many times people like to look at someone that just came back from Iraq and say, well, he's a veteran. But actually, if you spent 4 years services in your hometown, signed in your hometown, you'd still be a veteran. And so as the programs expand, we think about the veterans that are 70, 80, 90 years old that are out in the outlies of, let's say, Metcalfe County. These people are almost lost because they don't have the communications. They don't know what's going on. We were just talking, Babette was talking about the programs that are available for the veterans.
There are quite a few. But so a working definition of a veteran, and you were mentioning, Babette, that there is indeed, there's protocol, so to speak, as to how one defines a veteran, and it's available online and in a publication.
Absolutely. The VA also defines veterans in regard to benefits available to them, and that is found at va.gov. And they also have a booklet available. This booklet is online, and it goes through and it outlines all, all the wars and the veterans who've served in those, as far as the Reserve and National Guard members who serve our nation and our state. And it defines veterans in regard to their ability to seek benefits through the VA.
And services. And now we did mention at the top of the show that Babette is representing, she does constituent services with Senator Rand Paul's office, and you do a lot with the military, and that's why we asked you to be here. But a lot of congressional offices have the same position.
Absolutely. What a lot of people don't realize is that a member of Congress, while they make legislation in Washington, we're all familiar with that, back in the state, each member of Congress has an office where they have the Constituent Service Division. And what does that mean? It means there are people there that help our individuals within our state who may need help or have issues with a federal agency. So as you've indicated, I specialize in the area of veterans and military affairs. So if someone comes to Senator Paul, for example, and needs assistance with the VA getting benefits or health care, or in the military needing assistance, with an upgrade or getting their service records or whatever, they can call our office and we stand ready to assist them through the process.
You know, it's an overwhelming process sometimes, isn't it? You know, when they talk about government red tape and all these things, I mean, for some people, and you reference Korean veterans that are still alive in the Metcalfe County area who probably are up there in age and may not have the same access perhaps to the internet or be aware of what's out there.
And it's interesting too how frustrating the whole system can be, as you said, but what happens to that veteran? He makes the call to the VA, he doesn't get the answer right away. Who does he call next? He calls his representative.
Yeah, he calls his
and
representative.
it's almost a 1-2 step. If nothing works there, he feels like he's at the end of his rope. And yet there's a lot of alternatives out there.
And we're going to find out that, well, and we're
Or
going
he
to
or
hopefully find out more about that, he or she. You're
Yes.
exactly right. Kent, you've been on the program before, and as a matter of fact, I think your first appearance on this show, you had only recently come back from Iraq, maybe within the year. And so you are a veteran there, and you then have kind of worked your way to helping other veterans, and especially on the WKU campus, because you work with military services.
Right.
There used to be something called the GI Bill.
Yeah.
They now refer to it as the post-9/11 GI Bill?
That's one of the versions, as we
Okay.
discussed before on the previous shows. There's post 9/11, Montgomery GI Bill, and there's different chapters. Post 9/11 is kind of the most common now because of the era we're in, but our WKU can help veterans with that, and what that does is it pays them a housing stipend based on the amount of credit hours they're in, as well as a book stipend. Now, some veterans, well, a lot of people think you have to be a veteran to use the GI Bill. Those other chapters, there are some for people who are in the reserves and National Guard, and they do get a stipend as well. And what we can do, since they don't get a book stipend, our office helps them with free textbooks and things like that. So
The Textbooks for Troops program.
Correct, yes.
So it's out there. So now you get a little sense of what each one of these individuals does. Now let's break it down, okay? What, are we servicing our veterans in the way that we should? These women and men who went out and, you know, risked their lives to help keep this country free, are we doing enough for them?
Well, Bowling Green, Brad, is an amazing area. There is a lot going on here, both in the civilian world and in the military world, to support our veterans.
Now Brad is the Barren River Area Development District.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And we have found through this Community Blueprint program that we started 2 years ago that one of the biggest problems is letting everybody know what everybody else is doing, and that the programs themselves are constantly in flux. And we went back to the VA again, and we had talked just last week about the changes being made in the VA. Well, again, how does that person receiving the benefits from these programs know what's going on? How do
You're
they
talking
keep
about
up?
changes at the federal level in the VA program?
Everywhere.
State, at all
Local
levels?
level, there are new programs coming on, new people want to go ahead and support the veteran. How do they do that? Civilian programs possibly, and the complete range of programs, those that provide physical support, those that provide mental support, whatever they may be. These programs are in flux, and our job, as I see it, the Community Blueprint side, is to get that information together and go to one source. And in our case, we've gone to the Alive Center, and they have a booklet with support groups throughout Barren River, and we have added some items to that for veterans too. So the community support's out there in most cases. We also look at what programs aren't available. We look at legal and legal aid, for instance. There are a lot of veterans incarcerated here in town. What kind of support are they getting? What about veteran court? Some places in the states have started veterans courts. So we are examining that as a potential, just to put the word out there. Maybe we do need a veteran court here in Bowling Green.
A veterans court specifically designed for those, help me understand that.
Once a veteran, maybe potentially an example will be maybe a veteran has come back from service in Afghanistan and Iraq, a lot of times both, and they come back with post-traumatic stress, or they have reassimilation issues, because they are deployed so many times over the last 10 years and more. So a lot of times that we're finding that these veterans are coming back, maybe they're not able to access the services that are available for various reasons, and they just stumble upon hard times. And we have found that with post-traumatic stress, that comes along with many issues. Some of these veterans have ended up, incarcerated for various reasons. So the Veterans Court, which has been established throughout the state in various places and hopefully will be coming to Bowling Green soon, it's just an avenue, not for them to usurp the legal process, but it's an avenue for them to someone to come alongside them, help them through the issues maybe that got them there, which sometimes it does stem back to their service and post-traumatic stress and the assimilation issues coming back and assimilating back and just to the normal routine of their life. And so the effort is to come alongside these veterans, help them through a program, again, that doesn't usurp or change the legal process, but helps them, guides them through so they don't have to end up there again. It's having great success in Louisville and in Elizabethtown area, Hawkinsville, East Kentucky, and hopefully Bowling Green will have that soon.
You know, you talk about veterans who are incarcerated, a big issue, and Heather French Henry, who's just taken on the reins of the State Veterans Affairs Division, former Miss America, married to a former Attorney General. One of her big pushes, and Congress even passed something in the early 2000s related to homelessness for our veterans. Now that's an issue a lot of people don't think about. And Kent, you've had to address this, I'm sure, with some of the students.
Right. And you were talking about GI Bill benefits and the problems with delays in VA educational benefits as well as health care, and that's something we run into with our students. Is if their VA educational benefits, that post 9/11 or whatever version they're using, is delayed, a lot of those veterans are using that housing stipend to pay their rent, mortgage payments and whatnot, and if that gets delayed, it puts them in a bind. And we have had a student that did become homeless because of that. His benefits were severely delayed, and so with Community Blueprint and Skokie Veteran Council, we try to network with those different organizations, and it's a VA grant funded program, I believe, that we recently had a guest speaker come to talk to us about, and they can help veterans if they're not just homeless but in danger of becoming homeless. So if they have an eviction notice or whatnot, then they can help them or possibly help them get housing or pay for housing or stay in their house to prevent the homelessness.
And what's really neat about the process or about the whole discussion we're having is that there are resources and benefits out there for veterans. Of course, everybody initially thinks of the VA, and there is a broad spectrum of services through the VA. And a lot of times either people aren't aware of them, the veterans aren't aware of them when they come back, or they try and there's roadblocks and difficulties and they give up. So what is really neat about our efforts here in Warren County and the Barren River area through the Community Blueprint and through the Skokie Council is that these gentlemen are taking the time and effort with a group of others to come together and streamline all the resources, because as we've all seen, there are groups out there, you know, offering benefits and services to veterans, and we're all kind of working in our own world. And the effort over the last year and moving forward is to bring all the resources together, us work in conjunction and network with each other to really provide a consistent service and a known service to our veterans in this region. And it's taken off really well. And the last year we've seen these benefits, not the benefits, but the efforts grow. And we're slowly reaching out and bringing in more people who service veterans, from members of Congress to Western Kentucky University to veterans serving veterans. One thing we haven't talked about but is a part of this group is the service organizations. Everybody hears about the American Legion, the VFW.
Right.
You know, Bowling Green has two of the best service organizations in the state. So, you know, they're coming together, they provide services. So we're streamlining all of these gentlemen are. I just happen to be very lucky to be a part of the group because we add a service too. But they're doing a great job, and it is providing a good service to our veterans.
I have one comment I'd like to make on that, and it's because of the homeless situation that this actually started as the Community Blueprint program in the community. Colonel Bob Spiller, who's well known in the community, he came up to me about 2.5 years ago at our MOA meeting, and he said, "Bill, there's a homeless man down here, what can we do about it?" And we did a little thrashing around, and just like we say, I didn't know, he didn't know.
But he was a homeless veteran.
But this person he was talking to was a homeless veteran living under a bridge. And so we looked at it, and about the same time our national organization came forth and said, would you like to start a Community Blueprint program in your community? And we kind of took that as what the Community Blueprint's doing, is trying to identify these problems, and we just went forward with that. And now we know there's Hotel Inc., for instance, and a number of Salvation Army, Red Cross, all these people will help as required.
And all this is great and wonderful, but the key is getting the word out to these people who need these services.
That's the key.
That is the key. Do you have that key?
We don't have the entire key, because a lot of it has to do with publicity. and because we have a very limited budget, getting the word out. But like in Soki Happenings now, we're doing a monthly article for a period of 6 months. Second one's just going in for July, and getting the groups to acknowledge what's going on, but to get the veterans, that everybody I've talked to said the hardest thing is to find those veterans that are in need. Too often it's when they get too far into the problem and the family comes forward and said, we've got a problem.
Help. And we have talked, and you've probably experienced this as well, Babette, but Kent, we've talked about veterans who come back, women and men, who don't want to ask for help,
Right.
who need help, who think, yes, indeed, I might be suffering from PTSD, but you know what, if I do that, I'll look weak.
Right.
Now, are we
That's
making
right.
any,
Sure.
yeah, are we making any headway in that regard?
I think we are, and I can't speak for the community as a whole, but I know from being at Western Kentucky University and dealing with the veterans in that situation, I think we're making progress there because we have a Student Veterans Alliance, a great organization of student veterans, and it's kind of a peer-to-peer group, so that when veterans come back, they may be hesitant to do that, but if they see other veterans utilizing these services and stepping forward, then it kind of sets a precedent for them to say, you know, this is okay, you know, I can do it. So.
And counseling and testing, you're
Yes.
now the Center for Counseling and Testing on Western's campus. Their services are now available as well?
They are. They've partnered with us, and they come down once or twice a week, and they send 2 great psychology interns that are counselors with them. They come and hold office hours down in Tate Page Hall, 410, and that's available to veterans, and it's a way to kind of fill that gap if they are waiting to get in the VA healthcare system, but they need help now, then that's someone they can come talk to.
You're chomping at the bit to say something there.
Well, no, I really wasn't chomping at the bit because it remains one of the biggest problems. And getting the right medical care is important. I actually had a veteran come up to me about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and VFW member, and we were talking offline, and he said, Bill, and this was an older gentleman, Vietnam veteran, he said, Bill, if I didn't have my medicine, he said, I might kill you. And so it can be a very serious thing, and it takes a lot of fine-tuning to get these people that need help back to the right situation.
You know, a lot of times I find that people aren't aware of where they can go to get help. And the best way that I've found, like people who know to come to me, they say, well, I heard it from, you know, word of mouth is the biggest way. And I've been doing this. I've been very fortunate to be helping our veterans, our military for a very long time. And while we do, you know, the senators out there talking about, and I've worked for previous members of Congress, and they go out and they say, here's what we do to help, and they have websites, and, you know, like Bill said, you know, their organization tries to do what they can to get out the word, and of course Western has lots of services for veterans regarding education and other benefits. Of course, the VA, everybody has heard of the VA, but it is amazing how people don't know how to connect on a personal level to getting the help they need. And so one thing that we found is, you know, word of mouth. If you know a veteran, don't hesitate to ask them, hey, how's it going? Do you need any help? And I happen to know somebody who might be able to help you in the event that you do. And then, you know, word of mouth is how we get a lot. And then we're able to help someone, and then they tell someone else, and they bring people in. And eventually people get the assistance, and though the effort is really for anyone who helps veterans and those serving in our military, the effort is, you know, really to get the word out so that they don't have such a struggle to try to get the benefits that they've earned, and many times very honorably and valiantly earned. So, you know, it's an honor and a privilege to serve our veterans and those who served in our military. And what these gentlemen are doing in the Southern Kentucky Council and the Blueprint is really a great effort. We have a lot of veterans in Warren County. I think, isn't it 8,000 in Warren County alone?
Plus, yes.
And
8,000 plus.
Just in
almost
Warren County.
399,000 in the state of Kentucky.
Exactly.
That's a lot of veterans.
And more coming all the time.
Well, and talk about that a little bit. More are coming all the time, because you're right, a lot of them are coming home now.
Yeah, we know the difficulties we've had with the drawdowns in the military, and the number in the Army is kind of uncertain, but they're talking about 60, 70,000 people less in the Army than they have right now, which means they're going to go somewhere. The same with the other services. Where are these people going to go? Are they going to receive the care they should have? It's unknown, but it's increasing the problem for the VA in particular, and for the communities as they care. So that's going to be another aspect.
Go ahead.
And as far as Kentucky is concerned, we have Fort Campbell, Fort Knox, we have a very large reserve and great National Guard. And then, of course, we have the VAs and the VA clinic right here in Bowling Green. And so what veterans tend to do is congregate around these military towns and around the services. So we will see that growth as these service members come home and get out of the service and go back into the community. You'll be amazed at the number of people that you're next to in the grocery store line or go to church with who are veterans. And again, just seeing how they're doing, asking them if they need anything. That's the best thing we can do as a community, and make sure and point them in the right direction. And then coming together as the services to unite to help in an effort, because we're already, those of us who come to the meetings and are trying to pool all the resources are already kind of,
connected to
connected
it. Now we need to connect
and
the
networking
rest.
people.
Now, this is a monthly meeting, the Skokie Veterans Council. It meets every month, and it is open to the community,
Certainly.
right?
Yes, it is.
When does it meet?
We meet the last Wednesday of each month, the last Wednesday, not the fourth Wednesday, and we meet at the Alive Center. The Community Blueprint meets at 2 o'clock, and the Skokie Veterans Council meets at 3:15. 15 hours.
15:50, yeah, Southern military time. And so this is an opportunity, if someone's watching the show and they get a sense that maybe they could do something to participate, this would be a good thing to attend. But how are we doing with getting our veterans steered in the right direction, so to speak? The GI Bill was an opportunity for many to, a lot of people who are in professional careers today say couldn't have done it without the GI Bill back in the day, okay? We've got a new generation, a different cohort who's coming back. And are they looking at education as Plan B?
I think they are, and I think we're doing good on that front, and that it does set them up for success. And another way we haven't talked about is with the Skokie Veteran Council, Community Blueprint, and whatnot, and even WKU, we're a part of a Keep Vets Council as well, and that's employment. So it helps with employment where
what is it called? What?
It's called Keep Vets.
Keep Vets.
Yes,
okay.
And so it's a group of employers that partner with other educational institutions across Kentucky, and we help try to streamline that connection between getting the degree and getting the job. So we're connecting at higher education with employment sectors. And we also do that here locally in the community through our local employment office. They have a representative here at Skokie Veteran Council. So what we're doing is we're training these people and getting them up to speed, so they can have that qualifications, and then helping them get a job by, further connecting it instead of it being disconnected where they get the degree, they get the certification, and then they have to go looking for it. We're able to kind of say, hey, I know of a job opportunity for you, or we have a corporation that's partnered with us that has internships available and stuff like that. So I think we were talking about veterans coming back here. It's going to be a great thing. A lot of times we just look at the issues that they have, whether it's mental health, PTSD, stuff like that, injuries, but they also provide a great opportunity for our employers, and I think they have a lot of skill sets that will see the community benefit when we do get these veterans here and get them employed and get them the help they need.
I was just going to say the skill set that they've developed doing what they've done.
Right.
Yes.
The other side of that story is the end of life story. And one of our individuals, Denzel Lyle, has joined Hospice, which is similar to hospice, talking about the last few months of somebody's life. And they identify veterans. And Denzel will actually go out, provide a certificate to the veteran, if that's appropriate, and he will talk to the family and provide them with the VA benefits that a lot of these families don't know that are out there for them. And so from one extreme to the other, I think it's very important that we are covering the broad spectrum.
And now, so is it your contention that if we can do this on this small scale, take it to a statewide scale, that that this effect can happen nationally?
There are over 60 units throughout the country right now that are Community Blueprint type operations. The Points of Light, who is kind of the chief organization on this right now, and the Veteran Leader Corps, who we have here, a Veteran Leader Corps member, the goal of Points of Light is to cover over 200 communities in the United States in the next few years. So yes, it can expand, and there's one state that even goes out and makes it a statewide operation. So yes.
So you're watching this program. We've been talking about veterans and the Skokie Veterans Council, the Community Blueprint, constituent services through your congressional delegation, through these services are out there. How would you want to leave our viewers? I'll give you each just a closing comment, if you will.
Well,
Bill.
basically, we're volunteers helping volunteers. And the more volunteers we get, the better off we'll be. If you have something going on, for instance, you can contact us, and we will even put something in the Skokie Happenings to advertise what you're doing as part of our article. And it's a communication. It's all a matter of communication.
And word of mouth. Constituent services, they're out there?
Yes, they are. Anytime anyone needs assistance with any federal agency, especially veterans and military, feel free to pick up the phone and call your member of Congress. Every state has, 2 senators. You have your member of Congress, and what people can do is call them and say, I have this problem, can you help me? And one thing that Senator Paul's office, our Constituent Service Division, takes great pride in, as the director, I can say that if we cannot help you directly, we certainly take the effort to point you to the people who can. So constituent service is something we take very, very serious, and we try to provide a great service to the people of Kentucky. So I would encourage people to call their member and let them know what issues they may have, and see if they can help, and if not, hopefully get pointed in the right direction to who can.
And Kent?
I would kind of say the same thing about our office at WKU, that, and to veterans and military students watching, that if they have those benefits, whether it's GI Bill or whether it's federal tuition assistance, state tuition assistance through the National Guard, use those benefits. It's there for you, and you earned it for sure. Like Bobette was saying, you've earned it. So use it, and then while you're there at WKU or wherever you're at getting your degree, seek out those Military Student Services office. See where you can get help with housing or whatnot, or if you have any issues with the VA healthcare, so you can stay in school and succeed.
It's there for the taking. We've been talking about veterans issues here in our region and, of course, in the Commonwealth. That's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of Kentucky Outlook. We are going to put up some numbers, some email addresses, some places where you can go to get more information. A very special thanks to all of you for joining us. Until next time, I'm Barbara Deeb. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.